Hey folks, how you doing?
Hi.
Friday Night Live. I just got off a few calls, and we just got on here in time, and still we're a little late. Oh, Shan, you can't see yourself. What's going on
I
there?
just can't see anything.
You don't see what's going on, and you're on the short chair.
I am.
Oh,
I'm
Shannon's on the
kneeling
short.
back here.
Shannon's on
A
the
little
short
bit of
chair.
R&R.
Are you just relaxing?
Yeah, pretty
Taking
much.
it easy?
We're so happy to be back again. We apologize for last week. I know we try to make this a weekly thing on Fridays, but we had our daughter had some issues going on and needed both of our attention. So if ever we're not here on a Friday, you know why. It's just because that we have things to tend with.
With our
Family stuff. So please know that's why we won't be here. Otherwise, we will for sure.
Yeah, usually I'll do it myself, and I'll go downstairs in the studio, the sauna, we call it. I was asking her tonight, I said, what's that? I said, Shannon, what's that fan that doesn't make any noise? She says, there isn't one. They all make noise. But I said, the one that's really good, that makes the least amount of noise. And she says, a Dyson? I said, yeah, let's get one of those. She says, they're $500.
They're expensive.
I said, okay, we're not getting one of those. Because I don't know what it is, that room downstairs.
But we're getting into fall soon, so...
Yeah. And then the room is cold, but I have a heat dish from, the Costco heat dishes, which works fine because after it starts going, makes that noise.
And just remember, we're just shy of 4 months for Christmas time. I saw the meme today and I went, oh.
Thanks, Shannon. No, I'm not one of those people. I like Christmas. Costco has their Christmas decorations out. It's too much for some people. We'll get to our topic in a second. We're just saying hellos.
Kim says hi.
Hey, Kim.
Joey, howdy. Piano Celeb, Boston. Joey Sawdust, definitely Boston. I thought Boston as well. JP says Chicago Transit Authority.
Great one.
John says, hello, Shannon and John. Boston self-titled. Yes. John Adams, Boston's debut album. Everybody had it. Hey, Alex, welcome. Asia's first record was great.
Good one. I'm going to put that down too.
Kim says, enjoying the David Page interviews on Patreon. Thank you, Kim. Chris Snodgrass. Hey, John and Shannon. Greetings from Charleston, West Virginia. And Alex says, Chicago CTA.
Yeah, Chicago Transit Authority. It's a double album. It's a great album. Back then they were releasing, let's release another double album. They were so prolific.
John at Village Advisory. Hey, John. Happy Saturday morning from Melbourne, Australia.
Hey.
The sun is shining. It's going to be a great day. Congrats on the award plaque.
Thank you.
That was a great moment for John and all his hard work that he's done. I know that Chase and I have helped on the side, but it's been your perseverance and your dedication to your craft that has really paid off. So yeah, it was.
Thanks. It started as a hobby. It grew and grew, and it's strange. The broadcasters are always the last ones to sort of say anything whenever, because I always go out of my way if a broadcaster friend does something really cool, or else if he has a milestone, I'm always there, hey, way to go. But the broadcasters are usually the last ones, and it's not just me. It's something we've noticed with other broadcasters, and I'm going, what, are you catty or petty about stuff like that? But most of them come around and go, hey, way to go, that's a great thing.
John says, hit the like button. I would think that would
whack the like button.
Yes, Stacy Smith, Boston, hands down.
Yep.
Chris says, King Crimson in the Chord of the Crimson King. Dire Straits.
Oh my God. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, Dire Straits, of course. I don't have that. I've got a list here.
H2O Field says, Hendrix, are you experienced?
That's on here, yep.
Let
me just read some. Okay. Joe Jackson looks sharp. This is from a list I found online. The Who, My Generation. I didn't pick everything they had. Big Star, #1 record from '72. Whitney Houston's debut album, simply. When I say the name of the band, it means that's a self-titled album. 1985. I don't agree with that because we got it all for free. I remember going, it's not my type of music. Mine, I would have to say probably is Boston from '76. The Byrds, Mr. Tambourine Man was on the list from '65. Chicago Transit Authority, Asia, Foreigner from '77. Dire Straits, Elvis Presley from '56. The Go-Go's Beauty and the Beat from '81. Norah Jones, Come Away With Me, 2002. Zeppelin 1, '69. The Stooges, '69. Cyndi Lauper, She's So Unusual, '83. Roxy Music, '72. Fiona Apple, Title, '96. I'll go through this real quick. Metallica, Kill 'Em All from '83. New York Dolls from '73. The only reason that was on the list, I don't like the New York Dolls, but I can understand how their influence was. U2 Boy from 1980. I didn't even know about U2 back then. Black Sabbath 1970. Pearl Jam 10 in 91. Jeff Buckley's Grace 94. Oasis definitely maybe 94. Leonard Skinner, pronounced Leonard Skinner 73. Police Outlandos D'Amour 78. Springsteen's Greetings from Asbury Park 73. The Doors debut 67. Killers Hot Fuss 2004. Van Halen of course 78. Arcade Fire Funeral 2004 Almost Done. Funeral 79. Pretenders 1979. The Clash 77. Patti Smith Horses 75. The Band Music for the Big Pink 68. The Strokes Is This It 2001. Sex Pistols Nevermind the Bollocks. Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction, which by the way outsold Boston's debut. 1987. Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are You Experienced? 1967.
Whoa, that is quite the list.
That's just some of them I think would relate to some of the people who are listening tonight. I mean, obviously, we are not a big go-go's, even though we did interview Kathleen Valentine. She was fantastic. She was so great. Oh, I love talking to her. And her book was fantastic. Get it. It's still worth it.
Hike with Mike said King Crimson was groundbreaking. Hike with Mike said, hey folks, the first album I ever bought was Boston's first album.
Wow.
Dang, one hit it out of the ballpark. Devin says, love you guys. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you. Thanks, Devin.
John says another good one, Batter to Hell Meatloaf.
Yeah, that's
Howby 44, greetings from Dallas.
Was that his debut? Because he had done some stuff before that, but Meatloaf. I'll put it down. It probably was.
Howby 44 says greetings from Dallas. Zeppelin.
Yes.
Tom says thanks for all the great work. Love the Jason Chef interview.
Yeah, thank you.
Chris says congratulations on the award.
Thanks.
H2O Field says Montrose.
Oh yeah.
Devin says Boston Van Halen, The Cars. Dominic says Pearl Jam's First.
Yeah, that's on here.
Speak English with this guy. Great topic. I mean, Led Zeppelin is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie Parker, congrats on the award. Kiss debut album. To this day, they play 5 songs from that album in their live set.
It's crazy, you know, in that era of Kiss, leading up to Alive, you know, Dress to Kill, another one. They were so good back then.
Stacey Smith says also Love Frampton Comes Alive.
Yeah.
And Chris
wasn't his debut, but it was his debut for a lot of people because they hadn't heard him before. But it was not his debut.
Chris said, did you interview some of the guys work or play with Bruce Springsteen?
No, I interviewed John Cafferty of John Cafferty's Beaver Brown Band. I said, okay, we have to talk about the Bruce Springsteen thing. We have to talk about the Bruce Springsteen question. I said, I wouldn't be a journalist if I didn't ask you about that. He said, no, it's fair. He says, I actually knew Bruce Springsteen. I know Bruce Springsteen. I know who he is. And because he sounds like Bruce Springsteen, you know. On the dark side, sounds like Bruce Springsteen. But I did point out a question to him before. I said, before you answer the Springsteen question, a lot of people were saying that musicians of that ilk from that area of the country have a similar kind of tipping the hat to the rock and roll 50s, rock and roll, traveling, you know, even doo-woppy stuff that have a sound like that. And then he gave me a pretty good answer. John Cafferty is one of the coolest guys I've ever interviewed. Just a cool guy.
Chris says Roxy Music. Sue Bailey, hi, yep. John and Shannon. Toto's first album, Stevie Nicks.
Oh my
Belladonna.
God. Oh my God. Yes, thank you. Of course, Toto.
Blaze chimes in, Brother John and Sister Shannon, Court of the Crimson King.
Yes.
Boston CTA introducing the Beatles on VJ Records, second incarnation of the Moody Blues, Days of Future Past. God bless.
Yeah. They at first it was going to be this. Well, some people call it the first prog album. John Lodge, when I talked to him, certainly says. He says, it wasn't going to sound like that. The record company didn't want that. Denny Lane wasn't in the band anymore, who eventually went on to play with Paul McCartney and Wings. And somehow all the pieces fell together. Great album.
A Hike with Mike, Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love. Eric says, Merlion script for A Jester's Tears.
Oh, you guys are coming up with great ones.
1983. Speak English says Weezer's Blue album just because it hasn't been said.
Weezer's album was on the list, by the way, that I looked at. Yeah.
Surfer Boy. Hey, guys from Boston. Hey, Surfer Boy.
Hey, Surfer Boy.
John says Deja Vu, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Mm-hmm.
Speak English with this guy. Says a great interview with Kathy Valentine. That's how I found your channel.
Oh, really? Thank you. Notice she was walking through the house at one point because she was living, her house was being redone. I think that's what she said. I do so many interviews. And she was walking around with her laptop through this house. She's so cool.
Diz, Lexic, Hart, Dreamboat Annie, Alan Parsons, Tales of Mystery and Imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
DB says, congratulations on the YouTube award. Thank you. Chris says, I enjoy the interviews. Pause to purr, Foreigner. Yeah,
it's on here. I mentioned Foreigner.
H2O Field said, Cheap Trick's debut.
Oh, yeah.
DDC says, REM Murmur.
I'm not sure if that was on the list. I've never been an REM fan, but a lot of my friends were into REM a lot.
Gerald Lee says, hey, John and Shannon, I love your channel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon Steele, hi, Shannon. John, congratulations on the award. Amazing first album. Is the first Toto album.
Yeah. Man, that struck me. Today I was putting together, and Kim, thank you for talking about we're releasing everything on the Patreon channel. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's $5.99. I think you can get access to all not all of them because we're putting them out day by day. We've been a little behind, so we just put another one out today. But we when we're interviewing Dave, if you've noticed, David Page of Toto, and who was the main songwriter in the first album. Between us are all the albums that he was involved with, either in production, engineering, playing piano, or writing, or whatever. And it's amazing how many albums he was on over 100 sessions before he even joined Toto. And of course, everyone thinks of Boz Scaggs, but played with Cher, Cecil Crofts, so many people before that.
Fraser J. Hey guys, how's Dan?
Hey, Fraser J.
Hope you're all okay. We are. John just finished watching the David Page and Jason Sheff interviews. Page and David and Jason Sheff interviews. Your best yet is like talking with your best mate down the pub. I'm going to grab another pillow because I feel like I'm falling, going far.
And
down.
Shannon, you're just what? You're just an inch shorter than me, aren't you?
I don't know, but I'm just like so. I felt like I was barely sitting here.
Yeah, Shannon's 5'8", 5'9". Yeah.
But this chair is just lets you sit right down low, so I'm like, felt like I'm just going to be off screen soon. Toro Porco, I really loved U2's Boy album. It was so different from what I have been listening to as a teenager up to that point.
Yeah, there was a grittiness about it, and that's on this list. We mentioned it a while ago. There's a feel on that album that I hadn't heard before, at least for me personally. But I didn't hear it then. I might have heard it in '82, a few years after it was released.
H2O Field, Get the Knack.
Oh, yeah.
Calvin says, yes, Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced, 1967.
That was one of the highest one on the list. I can't. If I go into another page, this will go black because we're on my laptop here.
Fraser J says, P.S. I can't get used to you guys on opposite sides. It doesn't look right. Oh, you can fix that, can't you?
Oh, God, I wouldn't have to figure that out now.
Oh, it's pretty. I thought we did before.
Oh, was it here?
It was pretty easy. Just to go into...
Okay, no, it's here.
Yeah.
Hold on. Maybe we'll do it. Mirror, black, rotate. Nope, not that. Oh, let's try that. Nope. No, that's not going to work. Was that fun for you guys?
What if you take off the mirror?
Hold on.
Well,
Shannon.
Wow, how is that?
How's that? Thanks, Shan.
Is that a little bit better?
Thanks, Shan.
Wow, I knew we'd come.
What the hell happened there? And when I was doing my wall, everything was backwards behind me.
Oh.
All the emblems were backwards.
Wow.
When I went, because I was visiting my mom this week, and everything was kind of, oh, thank you, super chat. Oh, Sweet Savage, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Did you have a question?
No question.
Oh, well, thanks. Very kind of you.
Cape Rayer 23, my favorite debut album was Trooper, self-titled from 1975.
I have it downstairs. Yeah, it was kind of orangey. Yellow, orangey. Yeah, I have it downstairs. Yeah.
Calvin says, Steely Dan, you can buy a Thrill. You
can't buy a Thrill.
You can't buy a Thrill, 1972. Good evening from Cleveland, Ohio.
Hey Cleveland.
Hi, welcome. Greg Parker says, Led Zeppelin.
We knew that one would come up a lot during the conversation, mainly because, a more bluesy Led Zeppelin for sure. My son Chase bought it remastered and I just love the album so much. Yeah.
Moro C, hi. Boston for sure. The Cars, Foreigner, Toto as well.
Yeah, Foreigner, the first Foreigner, the first Van Halen, first Cars. The Pretenders came up a lot on the master list that I looked at. I didn't buy that album. I remember one reviewer said, Chrissie Hynde sings like she wants to get blanked by a whole bunch of cyclists or something, or bikers or something. I remember going, oh my God, why would he write that? But I remember someone had written that about the album, and I'm going, are you just trying to get headlines? But yeah, someone wrote that.
Larry says UK debut album.
Yeah. I like Danger Money better, but yeah.
Morrow says, forgot to add Van Halen.
Yes.
Hike with Mike.
Running with the Devil, man.
Ronnie James Dio solo debut album. Mm-hmm. Holy Diver, that album rocked.
I still sometimes can't believe that he's actually gone. And he's been gone for a while, but wow.
Chris says The Fix, Shuttered Room.
Mm-hmm.
Calvin, Joe Cocker, Mad Dog and Englishman.
Yeah, Mad Dog's Englishman.
Mm-hmm. Living in Oregon, the Chicago Transit Authority by Chicago before the name change. Great channel. Love the Toto 7 interviews.
Thank you. Well, the Toto 7 one is really about, we're going to do a special on Toto 7. We have a lot of musicians who are going to talk about it. We've got Luke talking about it, Joseph, Shem Von Schreck, Steve Porcaro, who else is a few other people in there, just all talking about that album and what went wrong with the record company. It made no sense because I remember it stopped me in my tracks going, oh my God, this is one of the best albums I've ever owned.
Howby44, has anyone mentioned Steely Dan's first?
Can't Buy Thrill, yeah.
Larry says, what was Al Stewart's debut album?
Oh, it goes way back. Al's... it wasn't Year of the Cat. He released a few albums before that. Let me look it up.
Transparent Media Truth says Asia.
Yes, that came up a lot. And I just it's important for me to say it came up a lot. I'm just validating what you're saying.
And Pope Dope, Poison, Look What the Cat Dragged In.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Not checking my messages, checking Al Stewart's discography. It's good to have it here. Early personal life career, songwriting discography. His debut album was called, Bedsitter Images. Well, that's way before. And that's 67. So then he had, I remember Love Chronicles, someone had it. Zero, She Flies, Orange, I don't know anything. Oh, Past, Present, and Future that's the one where we got pictures or snippets of the other one. Modern Times, I remember. Those are the albums I remember. Year of the Cat was 76. Time Passage just 2 years later, or 3 years later.
Rob Cochran, Pablo Cruz, A Place in the Sun. They were ahead of their time. Music Logic, Queen. Hike with Mike.
Sorry to interrupt you. The debut album by Queen was a rock band. If you remember, like the all the songs, they were basically an all-out rock band on the first album. It was a great rock album, but it still sounded like Queen because it was Queen, right?
Hike with Mike said Christopher Cross debut album started the yacht rock era of the 80s. Love that album.
Used to call it California Sound. I used to like that title more. I don't like the title Yacht Rock, but it's here to stay. It's there.
Hey, DJ H. Good evening. Hey. Congrats on the plaque. Thank you. Nice to have you here. Oscar says America.
All right. I've got 4 America albums autographed downstairs. I've got Homecoming, A Heart's History, their greatest hits, and Silent Letter, which is, H is the silent letter. Ha ha ha. And all their albums they started with H back then.
Calvin says Average White Band. Average White Band first album, 1974.
Was it, eh? God. Yeah, I never bought an Average White Band album.
The Raging Dolphins maniac Timothy B. Schmidt passed away today.
What? Really? How can I have not heard that?
Live in Oregon, quarter flash. Hey, I'm an Oregon guy there from Portland.
That's not true. Why would you say that? That's not true. Why would he say that? Why would you say Timothy B. Schmidt has died?
I'm just sorry. I just read the comments.
Yeah.
Passed away today. Maybe he read something wrong.
Well, he's not dead.
Speak English with this guy. This isn't a bad track on the debut for Boston.
There's not a bad track on the debut album. Who said that? Who was the user that said that?
The Raging Dolphins maniac said that he passed on today.
There's nothing in the news about Timothy B. Schmidt dying.
Fraser J., how strange that should make such a difference. Haha. Oh, are you talking about flipping the screens, the mirror? I know. It does make a difference. Who knew? Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Heavy Mayo, the outfield, play deep, power pop at its best.
I love power pop a lot.
Matthias says Jimi Hendrix.
Might be Mateus.
Okay. Larry says was
I'm checking the news here.
Okay, I can wait.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Calvin says Santana, 1969.
Oh, God,
James
yes.
Taylor, Rock and Roll Machine, Triumph.
Yep.
Vincenzo, who can forget the debut album from Kiss? And Chris Bergman III. Chris just says Blue Oyster Cult. And Sable Miner says, I'm getting into some of the first rock albums in the 60s, Pink Floyd, Cream, etc.
Oh, good for you.
And have been digging yesterday's papers on here to hear the psychedelic sound and trippy vibes.
Yeah, good for you. My son did that when he was 8 years old. He started going back because he found value in he wanted to do the drum solos of classic rockers, and let me push this forward. And the type of drumming he enjoyed. I don't know what that is.
It's okay.
Oh, the type of drumming he enjoyed were the drumming from that type of music, and so he got into that type of music. But yeah, he went back. Like I said, he bought his first vinyl was the first Zeppelin album remastered on thicker vinyl.
Pope Dope, Crowded House self-titled debut album.
I love Crowded House.
Fraser J. Simon Phillips, Protocol. I think John would appreciate that.
Yeah, I like the Protocol stuff. Yeah.
Brandon Steele, Steve Hackett, Voyage of the
Acolyte.
Yeah, and Peter Gabriel's Car.
Yeah.
I know the sound of the album isn't great, but the first Kiss album is great.
Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned the first Kiss album. They love them. Those first few albums leading up to Alive, and even Destroyer. But then I was gone. After Destroyer, I was gone.
David Norris, was Working Man the first Rush album?
It was just called Rush. Working Man was on the album. Yeah. That's the sign. I reported on that this week, and it was true. Some people in the U.S. actually thought Working Man was the new Led Zeppelin song. And I don't know. We're just talking to Dawn tonight, one of our old friends. Not that she's old, she's younger than me. But she lives in Toronto. And when I posted that, she says, oh, my God, Working Man doesn't sound a thing. Doesn't sound a thing like Zeppelin. And I agree, but some people thought it was Zeppelin.
Ronnie says, I have this album, 1974, Montrose debut.
Oh, yeah. It's been mentioned a few times, so you're not alone.
Jeffrey says, has anyone mentioned the Beatles' debut album on the Parlophone label UK, released in March of 1963?
It was on the list. Where's my list? It was on the list. I knew it would be. I mean, of course, it's the Beatles. Steve
Bird said Molly Hatchet.
I got my first Molly Hatchet was I'm Flirting with Disaster, y'all. They're all dead now. God, eh?
Jeffrey Lang called Please Please Me, by the way.
That's on the list.
Todd Garner, 1980 Back in Black album, AC/DC.
But it wasn't a debut album. They had quite a few albums before that.
Rob Cochran said that's a rumor. Timothy is well.
Yeah, but Why don't you just say it's a rumor? There's no.
H2O Field, nice seeing Montrose mentioned.
Yeah.
They influenced America hard rock big time.
Yeah. It was a different Sammy Hagar in the old days when, God, Sammy. It was so strange. I remember my reaction to Sammy Hagar joining Van Halen, going, "Yeah, but Sammy Hagar's a real good guitarist too." I mean, he's not. I wouldn't say he's Eddie Van Halen, but I remember going, "That's gonna be really cool for Van Halen," you know.
Morrow says, some Canadian picks for you. Brian Adams, Sega Trooper, FM Black Noise, Max Webster, to name a few.
Yeah, Black Noise was such. Anyone who doesn't know FM Black Noise, pick it up or listen to it. I'm almost positive it's on Spotify and Apple. It's on Spotify. I wish I could play it. I wish I could play music so much on this channel where we could just hang out and listen to music. Hey, what do you think? But you can't do it because that's the fastest way to lose your channel. Fastest way.
Live at the Chapel, Sixto Rodriguez's Cold Fact. Let's see here. People are talking amongst themselves.
Oh, good.
Devin says, bad English first record.
Oh, yeah. There's so many of those like super groupie things, you know, back then.
Paul Sar says, wasn't Kiss a flop until a live 3 or 4 albums down the road?
They weren't selling a lot. But there was the mystique was growing by the day, though, for a band who could play like that, or had songs like that, more than, I'd say, play like that. People were just joining on. By the time Alive came out, man, that was an event. That whole album was a phenomenon.
Les says, first Dio album is incredible.
Mentioned You're Not Alone, mentioned quite a few times.
Matt says, just in case it wasn't mentioned yet, but Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses has to be one of the best debuts.
It is, and it outsold Boston, by the way, like I said a while ago. When I was researching the Boston album, I know it's not the biggest debut album of all time. Whitney Houston's outsell it. Shania Twain outsold it. But as far as a band, then I went, oh yeah, well maybe that's what they meant. They debut by a band, and I realized that Guns N' Roses had outsold them as a band.
Living in Oregon, the Chirping Crickets, Buddy Holly.
Oh.
LTW, hi John and Shannon. My choices for debut are VH, The Cars, Foreigner, and Boston.
Oh, Van Halen, yeah. Van Halen's debut was so good. Oh, I was just blown away. It's that thing of when you hear, what we were talking about the other day, people say, well, how did you feel? I felt when I listened to Van Halen and Boston, two different animals, but I felt that I haven't heard this before. This is their own lane for both bands. Dire Straits debut, same thing. I remember going, there's almost an element of Bob Dylan in his vocals that timbre he has in there, but it's obviously not Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan wouldn't play music like that. But Dire Straits were in their own lane. I found the Cars were, I found Foreigner were, but not as much as Boston and Van Halen. They really created a sound.
DGH says, great debuts, Mothers of Invention, Freak Out Beatles, Twist and Shout, in Canada only. The Who sings My Generation.
My Generation's on the list.
Took out a few others already mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, My Generation didn't rank high on that list that I saw. But when you look at right in the middle of the 60s, 1965, like, wow. And a lot from 67, The Doors debut.
Hike with Mike, Stephen Bishop's debut album, Careless, had the hit song On and On, and Save It for a Rainy Day.
Save it for a rainy day. Yeah. I'm trying to get Stephen Bishop, but he's not getting back to me.
Sable says, Kiss, Gene Simmons was quoted as saying rock is dead, thanks to Gen Y.
Yeah, people always I mean, I don't like it when people get on and people who do what I do and say, oh, music sucks today. I'm going, that's so disrespectful to new music. Just look in the right place. There are a lot of alternative bands that basically sound like older bands or have the grittiness. They're not the same, I realize, and maybe they won't have the impact, but I just don't want to sound like an old man because they know they'll get hits by saying that. You know, they'll get a lot of hits by saying, oh, music today sucks. And I'm going, don't do that. That's just...
Live at the Chapel says the Flowers' debut album, Ice House. You heard of Ice House?
Ice House, yes, but I don't remember.
James Taylor, April Wine.
April Wine's debut album, and Jim Henman, who was their bass player, told me that. He says, I said, are you proud of the album? And Jim said, well, we hadn't formed a sound yet. He said, listen to Zeppelin 1, they formed a sound. They knew what they were doing right off they hit the ground running. He says, April Wine did. They had Fast Train. Fast Train was a hit off that, a minor hit in Canada. But it's true, if you listen to the first album, or Feet, as you call it, or some people call it the upside down wine bottle, because if you look at between his legs, you can put a wine bottle in there. It's just all these little idiosyncratic things about April Wine. But I agree. I wasn't a big fan of it. Was all the two Henman brothers and Jim, David, and Richie Henman. I think all three of them were on that album. I know Dave Henman was on it on guitar, and Miles was on there, of course. Yeah, that's right. The Henman brothers, the cousin, and Miles Goodwin. But I didn't like the album.
Hike with Mike said, Steve Perry Street Talk. Loved it in the summer of 1984.
Good one. Thank you. Yeah, that was such a great album. I was pleasantly surprised, because when you have a guy who goes solo, it's not always a Lionel Richie thing, Lionel Richie comes out with a self-titled debut album, with the orangey color, where he's sitting there. I think he's wearing a green sweater or something. It doesn't usually turn out that way, because when you go, oh my God, the solo singer's better than the band was. Arguably, I understand, because he went soft. He went with 3 Times a Lady for the rest of his life. But then he had some up-tempo stuff, and he did what Michael Jackson did. He had up-tempo songs and slow songs after a while, and at least the ones that hit the ground, that stuck to the wall, as they would say.
Michael says, Pretenders first. Great first song to last.
Yeah, you're not alone. A few people have mentioned that.
Living in Oregon, Loverboy 1980. Those boys out of Vancouver could rock.
Yes. I saw them at a picnic for a radio station called Ched. Mike Reno, the 2 times I've interviewed him, one in person and one on Zoom. And he had mentioned, he says, oh, I saw you in Edmonton in 79, or I think it was 79. He said, oh yeah, the Ched picnic. And I went, my God, how do you guys remember that? And it was Mike Reno and a lot of other musicians who said things like, well, Yvonne Cornway will remember that move that happened just in front of Ken Dryden, trying to save his own goalie and passing it to Larry Robinson or something. They or Frank Mahovlich, they remember all those moves and how it worked and why, because it was important to them. We remember things that are important.
Sable says, did you all ever dig Steve Hillage out of England?
Not a lot. My buddy Tommy Morrison, who may he rest in peace, was a fan. I remember he tried to convert me with Bowie, Alice Cooper. Neither one of them worked. But I have respect for Bowie and Alice Cooper. It's just not, I'm an apple, they're an orange. It just doesn't.
Brandon Steele, and Mental Notes by Split Enz. Very underrated debut.
Yeah, Split Enz, Split Enz and Crowded House, from the same ilk family, right?
Jeffrey says, however, virtuoso B3 player Joey Francesco did pass away today.
Okay. Yeah, I you know what? If you're not sure, you don't say so-and-so died today. You don't put that on the channel. So, don't do that. Don't give me a heart attack. And Timothy B. Schmidt seems like he's healthy. Doesn't mean he couldn't die or turn around and have a heart attack. But, when we're on live, we'll get stuff like that.
Fraser says, have you guys ever considered doing a live question answer where you can actually interact with your followers?
We wanted to do that on Patreon, and then we went, well, that's I don't know how we could do it here, where I know we could put an address on here, but any Tom, Dick, and Harry could come on. It won't be you guys who are here all the time supporting us. So I'm not sure how we could do it. Does anyone know a software where we could do that and people just come on and say, hey, how's it going? Because that would be kind of cool. We could have maybe 10 people. It might be too much for some people. That's one of the reasons I don't interview whole bands. Pablo Cruz, I did it. I don't do it a lot because there's always one person talking and everyone else listening. And the camaraderie is good, but you're not going to get clips that you can use over and over again because there's always tomfoolery. There's everyone joking around. And it's good for that, but that's not the kind of interviews I want because eventually I'll sell all my interviews. I'm sure I will when I'm like, 80 years old or something in 2 years. No. I'm sure someone will come up and offer me money and say, hey, we'll buy your interviews. And I'll go, well, there's my retirement. Thanks.
Pope Dope, Whitney Houston's self-titled album. That was great.
It was a great album. It just wasn't my lane, right? At that time, I was really into Van Halen and, just a lot of 80s stuff. But they all gave us free copies of Private Dancer, which was not a debut, I understand, but it was her new life for Tina Turner. They all gave us free copies of Whitney Houston's album. I don't think they gave us Madonna. I didn't like Madonna back then. But there's like 5 songs I like from Madonna.
Matt says Back in Black wasn't AC/DC's debut, but however, it was Brian Johnson's debut with the band. And needless to say, one of AC/DC's best albums ever.
Yes. And not even arguably. It just is one of their best albums ever.
Chris says Talking Heads 77.
Oh, yeah. That was on the list.
Grant says I Don't Want to Go Home by Southside Johnny and the
Asbury Jukes. Yeah. I was talking to John Caffrey about Southside Johnny, about they toured together, and when we were talking about the Bruce Springsteen thing. Chase is like 10 interviews behind right now, so we're just going to try to or else I'm going to start editing. I hate watching myself. I just hate it. It's the most. Oh, I hate it.
Paul Star likes Eagles' first album, Jackson Browne, Saturate Before Using.
Oh my God, Jackson Browne. I didn't get into that album as much, but the Eagles' debut album, of course. I'm going to write that down.
David said Chicago Transit Authority. In some ways, they rarely reach that level again.
I think you're right. I think they there was just something. They say you spend your whole life doing your debut album up to that point, and usually in your 20s, right? Sometimes you're younger. But you spend all that time doing your first album, and then you've got 6 months after the tour. So that's 6 months of touring, and then 6 months, if you're lucky, you're not going to get 6 months, of, let's just say, to be fair, writing and recording. And so that you've got maybe a year, maybe 6 months for the whole thing. Meanwhile, you've had your entire life to, and again, the debut, you don't know what you don't know. That could be a bad experience. But there's a lot of ways to cut that pie.
Les says first Jeff Beck album is great.
I still swear from Jeff Beck. To this day, and because I've been going through on streaming services and the music that I have, because I have a lot of his collection. To me, blow by blow, still, it's the album that speaks to me the best.
DJ H said, if you're a progressive rock fan, Jody's self-titled album ranks up nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Bush, The Kick Inside, Pure Genius. That's from David.
I have the North American cover and the UK cover of that album. Actually, our swim instructor, what was her name?
Lisa.
Lisa gave me that. Yeah, she got it from. Where does she live? Where? Virgin Islands?
She's in the Bahamas now.
The Bahamas.
Blaze says, Eagle, self-titled album, The Cars, Candy O, Jefferson Airplane.
Candy O's their second album.
Take Off.
The Cars' first album was just called Cars.
Sean says, FM Black Noise.
No, wait a minute. What was the second? Was Panorama? What order did they come in? See, I hate when this happens to me. I go, oh, wait a minute. I'm getting old.
Ron says, Blue Rodeo's debut album was top shelf, never matched for me.
Oh, yeah. Steve interviewed them when Try came out.
Dyslexic Coldplay, Parachutes.
Oh, man, they hit the ground running, eh? Oh, my God. See if my memory serves me correctly. I haven't thought about the Cars in a while. Sorry, you go ahead.
David says, King Crimson, In the Court of the Crimson King.
Yeah.
Few debut albums from any of the prog bands made that kind of impact.
Few, yeah. The Cars, then Candy O, I was right. Because I didn't buy the debut. I had a cassette of it, and I bought Candy O. Then I went back and bought the debut.
Paul Star says, the first Iron Maiden with Paul Di'Anno.
Yeah.
That's Sorry, it's all moving so fast here, the screen. Matt says Pulsar, yes. Larry says ELP debut.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yes. Let me write that down.
Michael says 2 E's, Elvis Costello and ELP. What next to Jethro Tull is the most glaring omission from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Oh, there's so much. I think maybe next week we're going to do, let's do Rock and Roll Hall of Fame maybe next weekend. We'll do that, the glaring omissions, and you guys can come on. And I just think they're making so many mistakes where they're just running out of time with people. Oh, we can't donate. We can't put people in just because they're getting old. Well, if they're going to get in eventually, and they should get in, and they're alive, and you're in this to sell concert tickets, to sell tickets to these big festivals and stuff, why not have them there? While they're alive, they're worthy, right? They should they should reclassify everything so people can get in while they're still alive. Because these careers are winding down anyway. They're not going to release necessarily any music that it can happen. I really like the new Journey album. I think it's amazing. I just love it. And some people don't like it. The Chicago album's pretty good. It's not nearly in the same league, but it's,
Speak English with This Guy said, I was listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan's debut, Texas Flood, earlier this week. Super strong debut. Steve Bird says Blackfoot Strikes.
Mm-hmm.
How B44. Do you remember the Michael Stanley Band?
Yes.
Michael had passed this year.
Yeah.
Great loss.
We did a thing on him. It's so strange we do this on Friday nights, and it's usually by the end of the hour. And no disrespect to any of you, but I'm just being very transparent. But we move and do so much throughout the days, and I'm sure you do too. But don't you find when you sit down, don't you find you sit down for the first time, you start going, stay,
I'm starting to get really cozy back here. I thought I'd just kick back and let you take it from here on in.
No, I just find myself go, oh my God, I'm so tired. But I'm still with it. You can tell I'm still.
And I got my screen way in front of me, so I don't have to put my glasses on. So I've got my screen like it's.
Someone said a couple of weeks ago when you were on, they said, it's true. You do look like a naughty librarian, but I prefer you without glasses. I'm going, okay, well, sure, thanks. Not me, her.
Blaze said, Brother John, why can't you play music? How do the folks who rate songs do it? Just wondering.
They don't get, what they do is they don't monetize their videos. So they don't, or else they'll get into partnership. Like Rick Beato has been fighting this for a while. They get into a partnership. You can use some music and they'll take half the income, right? But and other YouTubers are worried, what if they change the rules? What if someone buys that music from the artist or that record label or that publisher and changes the rules, and you've got maybe 200 videos with music on it? You've lost your channel if they change the rules. Because you only have to have 3 copyright strikes to lose your channel. So I would never do it. It's just, this is we pay our mortgage with this. We need to.
Cape Rare 23, Street Heart, Meanwhile in Paris.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back in Paris, I was embarrassed, babe.
Paul Sar says, Tommy Morrison, the boxer. You knew him?
No, not the boxer. Tommy Morrison from Miramichi. He was a childhood friend of mine. We used to watch this guy when we were in junior high school. We watched this guy walking like this, like Herman Munster. And he was always dressed in black. And we'd make fun of him. We'd go, oh my God, because kids are assholes. And every time he'd turn around, my friend Jeff and I would watch him go up the stairs. And one day we met him. I forget how we met him. It's probably in my journal. And we felt really bad because he was such a nice guy. And he was in a grade, I think, older than us, maybe 1 or 2 years. And Tommy was kind of a loner, a really eccentric guy. And he's the guy who was into like Alice Cooper and Tim Curry, the actor. He got me into Tim Curry's music. He died of cancer a few years ago, but I loved the man. I loved the man. And he was such a beautiful soul. That's the Tommy Morrison I
I'm just going to have to jump ahead in the comments here because I am so
because
far.
we're winding down.
And I'm so far behind here. David said Foreigner's first album was great. Calvin says The Pretenders, 1979. Steve Winwood, Ark of Diver, first, 1980.
Yeah, Ark of a Diver was the second.
Quint says early Pretenders was great music.
Yeah.
Live in Oregon, Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill. Coldplay's debut album. Sable says love Chrissie Hynde.
Yeah, Chrissie Hynde,
David says Pink Floyd's Piper at the Gates of Dawn was incredibly experimental.
Yeah, it was on. Syd Barrett, baby.
Hike with Mike, John Waite's first solo album debut, Ignition, had an awesome hit and video change. It came out just when MTV was appearing on cable.
John Waite his music is just phenomenal. I've been listening to some of his newer albums. I mean, he's just so plugged in. His music is great.
Ken, 5244, Emerson, Lake and Palmer's first album was amazing. Paul Sir says first Crosby, Stills and Nash. Transparent Media Truth. Was Bad Company mentioned?
Nope, Bad Company was not mentioned tonight. Nope.
Michael says the Sex Pistols, never mind the Bullocks.
Yeah, Bullocks. Bullocks to that, they'd say in England.
Larry says, love you guys, great show. Thank you, Larry. ELP Debut is their best album from the Greenbird. Pulsar Lights, Metallica, Kill 'Em All.
Yeah, it's been mentioned quite a few times.
Pope Dope, Men at Work, Business as Usual.
Oh yeah, was that their? It was the big one here. I bought that. I was playing that album in a '78 Trans Am. You know, the one with the hawk front before they changed it in. Did I say '78? Yeah, '78 Trans Am. And at that point, my biggest album was this was in '82. I think I bought '81. I bought that. I of all the albums that I had, because I played Business as Usual.
Quint said, are we not men? Are we not Devo? Truly groundbreaking.
It always comes up on lists as far as best debut albums.
Brandon says, yes, Devo needs to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, pioneering in so many ways.
Yeah. It's just a mess. I think it's a mess what they're doing. They're just completely mismanaging what they claim they're doing.
DJH Record Hound, a few best debut comedy albums, 2,000 Years from...
Oh, Call Reiner, yeah. Mel Brooks, Cheech and Chong, Stephen Wright.
I have a pony.
What's your favorite Stephen Wright joke?
Oh, no, what did he say? I went out and bought myself a decaffeinated coffee table.
Bought myself a decaffeinated coffee table.
It was fun.
I'd watch some of that. We got to watch some of his stuff. It's so crazy. It's so insanely dry.
Steve Berg says, Spin Doctors, Pocket Full of Kryptonite.
Oh, yeah.
Calvin says, Iron Butterfly debut album 1968. Larry says, Look Sharp by Joe Jackson.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones on the list, yeah.
Blue Cheer debut, Vince Bus, Eruptum.
Okay. What do you got? Frozen Ghost.
Phil Collins' Prism, or a few more. So many great debuts.
Frozen Ghost came out of Sheriff. Yeah.
Boston first album. Three Dog Night's first album.
God, Three Dog Night were big back then. You know, Grand Funk, Three Dog Night, CCR, in early 70s. They were just huge bands.
Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love.
Oh, speaking of that, I got to talk to... Motley Crue's come out a few times. I got to talk to Chuck Negron.
Larry says Jethro Tull debut, not their best, but showed promise.
Oh, Ian Anderson's just such an interesting chap to talk to. He's just so... You just feel like you're talking to someone in a lane that you've never talked to before. Just never. He's just... Every answer is like a slight surprise and a pleasant surprise. He's just a delight to talk to. I think I've interviewed him 5 or 6 times. Just a great, cool guy.
Rick made greetings from Ohio. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Whack that like button, folks.
Whack it.
Elvis Costello, My Aim is True.
Yeah.
How B44, The Police.
Orlando Stambor.
Steve Bird said, thanks for the show. Always fun.
Thank you.
Always happy to have you here.
I get to go record my radio show in about 3 minutes.
Lewis Crow says, Big Country, The Crossing.
In the big country.
Ronnie Parker, if anyone needs to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll ever happen. He should be. He's well deserved, and he's still alive. He doesn't look great, but he's old. That's what happens when you get old.
Jane says, child is father to the man, the original Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Fraser J, I'm so pleased you guys have reached 100,000 subscribers. I can't think of any more deserved. Thanks, Fraser. We really appreciate that. David says, Allman Brothers Band's debut didn't really capture the full impact of what they could do, like their live stuff did, but there has been nothing like it up to that time.
Yeah. Again, it's so cool when you get a band that you think, oh, they sound like those kind of Southern, and then but then you listen to them and you go, oh, I'm learning new things here, right? I love when that happens. I just love when I was listening to Graceland, a friend of mine. He has these great big speakers. Pete, he comes on here sometimes, and I forget he might even be on here now. Pete, what are those speakers? Are you here? But he has these big, this incredibly expensive stereo, and we were listening to Graceland on, like, it's just like this big, thin, very thin speakers.
But you said it was just amazing.
Oh my God, I heard things I'd never heard in my life. It was great. He's a nice guy too, really. I'm looking forward to getting to know him better.
Pope Dope, Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards. Lorraine said, I would love to hear more about Michael McDonald and the Doobies.
Well, I'm going to try to get Michael McDonald. I should try a little harder to get. Shannon's going to get on the horn and try to get more interviews with me. We're going to look at Linda Ronstadt this week and see if we can get Linda. It would be great honor to have Linda Ronstadt on our channel.
Rob Newhook, hello from Nova Scotia. I'm going with Duran Duran's debut.
Hey, cool. Where are you in Nova Scotia? We were just in Amherst a few weeks ago because we're in Moncton.
We're heading out next month to Halifax.
Yeah, we're going to Halifax. I'm from Miramichi, moved to Edmonton, moved to Vancouver, met this lovely lady in '97, moved to Calgary for our lovely daughter because of autism over there. And now we're in Moncton. My mother still lives in Miramichi, and we're looking forward to visiting Nova Scotia a lot.
A couple more here. Boston's first album is awesome. Every song is a banger.
That wins tonight. I think we got more Boston debut album. Yeah.
Deep Play is an excellent album. Oh, Rob's in Halifax.
Oh, cool.
Rick May, Chicago Transit Authority, ELO, no answer. The Car, Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill, Jeff Beck, Group Truth.
Oh, wow.
Larry says Linda Ronstadt would be a fascinating interview.
I think so. I hope she comes on. She still looks very beautiful. But sometimes older artists don't want to come on. Men will more than women, it seems. But
Pearl Jam 10, I think it was a debut.
Yeah, it was a debut.
Oh, hey, Pete. I think that's Pete.
Who is it? Oh, Laura, yeah. Hey, Pete, what kind of speakers do you have? What's your system? Can you tell people what your system is? That is Pete, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be. Laura. Yeah, Laura's his wife.
Bob Corin, shot with Clive in Peterborough.
Pete, what's your speakers? We're going to have to leave in a couple of minutes. Tell people what your speakers are. They sound so amazing.
Karen Riley, I love Journey's Escape album.
Not their debut, but yeah, great album.
Manster 1 Boston and Foreigner debuts were awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to have to cut it. We're going to have to...
Krell.
Oh, Krell. Yeah, Pete has this amazing stereo system. Oh, my God. My son wants to go over and check it out. Yeah, great stereo system. Anyway, guys, we got to go. Thanks, Pete, for coming on. We're going to figure out a time where you can come over.
Thanks, everyone. We so appreciate you coming on with us on Fridays. And until next time.
Yeah, take care, man. Have a good weekend.